Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Oh, Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, we are back showing the money. NFL picks for week number 1. Joining me today, the guy who closed out last season on the picks, did the Super Bowl picks with me. He also was a prophet on the podcast, predicted that Garrett Cole would sign with the New York Yankees during the winter meetings, which he did. Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Hey, Mike. Doing well. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. I will say, though, the Garrett Cole thing has not worked out as well as the Yankees have hoped the last couple of starts.
No, it hasn't. Team in general hasn't done that well. It's done okay, and can't be. I am mad about what they've done, but they're not terrible. But they should be doing a lot better. They're beat up, and even the guys who are playing are really not performing.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to get super, super worked up about a 60-game season because this is just such a crapshoot that, we've seen the Marlins are in the playoff hunt. We've seen the Tigers are hanging around in there. I just think, if you play 162, the Yankees would be fine. But 60, they're having much more trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it is, though. It is 60, unfortunately, for them. And they got to pick it up. I mean, they're on the cusp of missing the playoffs at this point. I mean, they'll probably make it, but they got to pick it up.
Yeah, they do. And we still have a month to go in baseball, but we do have the football season's here. Week 1 is here. I last talked to you back in May. We talked about the schedule. We talked then maybe I'll have to move things around. Are you surprised we actually made here on time without having the thing pushed back at all?
I am surprised. I still don't think there's any sort of plan in place for any sort of cancellations or a bubble-like thing. I know bubble would be really hard with, the amount of people on a football team, the amount of teams, but it worries me a little bit that they had nothing in place, considering the weather was going to get colder again. Who knows what's going to happen with this, with this disease, if it can come back in a second wave or something. So I'm a little surprised they didn't put anything in place, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. The NFL, I talked about this earlier. They did have the benefit of they went through camp. Everybody had the good results, but we said the same thing about baseball. In baseball, we've already had 5 different teams as of recording have positive COVID tests, and they got shut down for a couple of days at a time. And that's not something you can really do with an NFL team. You can't play double headers in football.
Yeah, and the NFL is the only league that had the privilege or the right, or I guess the privilege to. They had the time. They had 5-6 months to sort something out, and they didn't. The other leagues, really didn't have that much time to work on anything, and they made it work. Like the NBA bubble has been a huge success, and they put it together in 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, they have. The NFL, basically, their whole idea, I think, for what the idea is okay, virtual bubbles where you're at home and you basically just go from your home to the facility back home without going out in the community and whatnot, and limit the travel, which fingers crossed it works, but I'm still skeptical because I want to see what happens. We've seen in college, we've seen I think last night Texas State had to play a game without tight ends because their entire group had to be quarantined with contact tracing. I don't know how that would work for an NFL game.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea what they have in place. It's just that one bad egg ruins it for everybody else. If there's one, they say you're supposed to go to practice and then come home. If someone doesn't, they get sick, they bring it to their practice. That's a whole team. They bring it to their families spread it somewhere else. We all know how it works at this point with the spreading. It's one person can ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, I think the one thing you have to hope for if you're an NFL fan is that the supposed rapid test is coming by October. It gets out in the market quick enough that the NFL teams can actually get their hands on it, and that way you can test them every day, and then if you can catch somebody before they spread it to their teammates, basically they're testing negative before they enter the building, it should be good, but you want to catch it before it spreads that way. That's the only shot you have to get through the season.
Oh, that rapid testing is not only going to be great for the NFL. I don't know what it's going to cost, but that could be really useful in outside of sports as well, too. That could be something that really changes the way we live our lives.
Yeah, it could be a game changer for schools because you could just test all the people going to the school before the day starts. And if they're negative, right, they can go in. If they can't, they can just go home.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive it's going to be or anything like that, but it seems like it's going to be great.
It will be, and I'll talk to you a little bit about your Giants. I've heard some complaints from fellow Giant fans about Joe Judge's training camp, about how he's making the coaches run laps and he's trying to become a sort of Belichick Parcells clone. What do you think about Joe Judge so far?
I don't think he's going to be a very good coach based on that kind of stuff. So the players might buy into it and it might turn out well. They might get something out of it. But based on what I'm seeing, it seems very similar to Greg Schiano in Tampa Bay. Guys keep saying play till the whistle. Like, that's obvious. These guys are professionals. You don't need to tell them to play to the whistle. It's not like an 8th grade football team. Like, when the other team's kneeling the ball, you don't play till the whistle. You show some respect, and that's one that you can see. That's what Greg Schiano ran his team the way in Tampa. They played the Giants that game, and Eli kneeled, and one of the linemen, I don't remember who the guy was, like, he was hitting on the play, like his coach told him to, and it started like a big fight. He was saying, I told my guys to play to the whistle. Like, no, this is not 8th grade travel football. This is the NFL. It doesn't really work like that. You don't need to motivate. Yes, of course, players need to be motivated, but they're not trying. Like, you can get more out of a team, but it's not like pushing them harder is going to make them realize that they're good. And it's like the Giants don't have that much talent at all, so it's not like a good coach is going to get what he can out of this team, and they're going to all of a sudden become good. They have a little bit of talent on the offensive side. Jones looked great last year. If he stops fumbling, he looks really, really great. They can run the Barkley obviously is good. They have pretty good, decent receivers, and Engram's a good receiving tight end. So they have some weapons offensively, but it doesn't mean they stack up to other teams. They're still not a good team.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the state of New York football this year is not going to be good because the Giants, as you mentioned, they're in the midst of a rebuild. Their defense still needs a lot of work. The Jets have their own set of problems. The offensive line should be better, but they have no weapons for Darnold. Their defense lost Jamal Adams in the trade, and C.J. Mosley opted out. So I find it hard to really get myself jazzed up for the New York football teams. You're saying, like maybe one of these teams will be good. I don't think either one of them is going to have a very good year.
No, I don't think so. I don't think either of them are going to be dreadful. I think in the past, the last couple of years, I went into the Giants season expecting them to be 3-13 or 2-14. This year, I expect them to win like 5 games, maybe 6. I can see them doing that. I can see the Jets winning 6 games. So they won't be terrible. They're not going to be the top picks next year, worst team in the league. But you're right. It's not a team that I'm getting excited for. It's not a season that I can't wait to see what the Giants do. The only real thing I'm excited for is to see the development of both quarterbacks.
Yeah, this is basically see what the quarterbacks do for your year, and I feel better about the situation Jones has because he at least has some weapons. The line is a work in progress, but he has capable receivers on the outside. He's got a good running back. He's got a tight end who's capable making plays. The Jets, the back should be better in theory with Le'Veon Bell. Like, Chris Herndon and Darnold have good chemistry, but the weapons outside, there's nothing, and that scares the hell out of me. We want the quarterback to get better.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's been a long time with the Jets since they've had weapons and they've had opportunities to go and grab them, and they just haven't. And and to flip things around on the Giants with Darnold and the fumbling, that seemed to be Jones and the fumbling. That seemed to be his weakness last season. And from what I'm hearing, it's continuing in camp. And if it continues, the Giants are doomed. If he fumbles the ball, he's going to throw interceptions. He's young. It's okay. It's not like he's not going to throw 30, but he's going to throw in a full season. He's probably going to throw 15 to 20, maybe 15 interceptions. It's going to happen. But if he also turns the ball over via fumbling on the 15 times, they're going to be really, really bad. He needs to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, he does. And the Giants, they get the benefit of they have the extra day. They start the season on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think when it comes to that game, I just look at Pittsburgh, and I think they're really, really underrated. Off the top of your head, do you know what the Steelers' record was last year?
They were 500.
Yes, but you're right. But I don't think a lot of people would assume that. You're like, oh, Roethlisberger was out. They were hurt. A lot of people think of it like they were 5-11, 6-10 team. They went 8-8, and they were 8-5 at one point. They lost their last 3 to the Bills, the Jets, and the Ravens. This is a team that easily could have, with no Ben Roethlisberger. This is a team that easily could have been like 11-5, 12-4 if Ben played. They're a good team. Their defense is really, really good, and the offense struggled because they had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the Steelers. And the thing that I think brings an interesting point before we do the picks week is that, I'm looking at the lines here, and, honestly, I don't think the odds makers have a clue what to make of this situation here because you had no off-season, no OTAs, no mini camps, no preseason games, and a lot of these places have no fans or at most 20% of the fans in the building. So they feel like they kind of made the lines and sort of a traditional here's what it would be on a normal situation. But I don't buy a lot of these lines because I feel like they're so skewed between like A, like I don't know who has fans in the building. B, like I also think that like the home field advantage will be massively overrated this year because without fans, it's like there's not a quirk. It's not like a Fenway Park where you can play the park. Every football field is the same dimension, so you can't say one home field is better than the other without the fans.
Right, I completely agree. Except for some of them, I guess, play on a different type of terrain like grass compared to turf. But I mean, these are NFL players. Not like the first time I've ever played on grass before.
Yeah, it's like if you're getting a sunny day, like outside with no fans, and let's say in MetLife this week for the Giants, it's not much different than being outside in Buffalo if there's no fans in Buffalo.
Right. Yeah. Very true. And I noticed that as well with these odd makers. They don't know what to make of it, and especially with this Steelers game, like -3.5, I believe it is. Do you have anything different? I see 3.5.
Yeah, I was right around there. I had -4.
Okay, so -3.5, -4. I see that as if there were fans at Giant Stadium or MetLife, it would be Steelers -4, but there's not. So is it really a home field advantage for the Giants? What's the difference of them playing in Pittsburgh? I guess you could say they have to travel. That Pittsburgh has to travel and the Giants don't. That's the only thing. But again, they do that all the time. They're always traveling. These guys are always on the road. Yeah,
that's true. Let's get to the picks. Every week on the picks challenge here, I'm going to pick picks. Somebody different is going on team challenge every week doing the picks. You are here for week number 1. We're making 3 picks against the spread. I'm going to get us going here. You're going to be up first as the guest. Nick, where are you going with pick number 1?
I'm going with Seattle. -1.5 I have here. I think when it comes to that game, this is another one of those games where they're on, they're favoring, I think, the home team because the home team's home, but there is no home field advantage. Seattle's only -1.5. I think Seattle's a very good football team. I don't think there's really anyone who would deny that. And Atlanta is just, I don't think they've been good in years. I don't see anything to be excited about with Atlanta, except for the fact that they're playing in Atlanta, which doesn't mean anything to me in this sort of NFL season.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you on that, Beck. I do like the Falcons in that game just because I think that their situation when they're playing on the track is going to help out that team. They played well down the stretch last year. They were 6-2, and there's a lot of talent on that football team. They get slept on quite a bit. Plus, you have Seattle flying east. That's the one thing I think to take advantage of here is that the fact that they're playing 10 a.m. body time is going to be tricky for them. I could see Atlanta winning this game, but this is really a toss-up. I think this one the oddsmakers got right with the line.
I will say this, though. In the past, Atlanta has been pretty good in the even years. So maybe you're right about that.
All right, where are you going with pick number 2?
I'm going with Tennessee. They're in Denver. They're getting 1.5. I think they're a better team. I think they should be favored. I think they should be favored and then some. I think Tennessee is a really good football team. I think we're going to be seeing them in the playoffs, possibly just as far as we did last year. And I think Denver is an average team at best. I'm going with Tennessee.
I'm with you on this pick. I love this pick. This one I looked at, I'm like, huh? And I see the line because Denver, they finished well with Drew Lock. So they're 4-1, but that team is not that good. And this is one I think, again, where I think they're factoring in the fans being not like having in there, but they're not there. The altitude's a factor, but Tennessee has the defense and the running game. That travels very well. I think they'll confuse Drew Lock. They'll pound the football. I think they win this game easily. So you're getting 1.5. Take it.
Yeah, I actually looked at this when I saw this spread. I said 1.5. I rubbed my eyes. Like, does it really say -1.5? I was like, wait, it actually says +1.5? Wow.
Yeah, so that's a one I think you had to take. Where are you going with your third pick?
I'm going to go opening night with Kansas City, -9.5. I think Houston's taking steps back, and I think Kansas City's going to continue to move forward. I think, Bill O'Brien has traded away Hopkins for dirt, and they're going to suffer a little bit. I still think they're a pretty decent team. I think they'll take a step back, but I still think they're not a bad team. But Kansas City's just going to keep rolling. I don't think anything's going to get in their way, and I don't think 9.5 is enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that pick as well. I like the Chiefs here. I know 9.5 is a lot to lay on opening night, but one factor they have in their favor, I think, is the continuity. They bring back 9 offensive starters from a year ago, about over 80% of the offensive snaps. The Texans' defense is also not very good, and you also got to figure they'll have a little bit of that memory of the choke job at the end and the divisional playoff game last year in their heads. I can see the Chiefs running away with this one very easily.
Yeah, I'm a little upset this is our opening day matchup, to be honest with you. I would have rather something a little bit better, but at least Houston's not a bad team. At least they didn't throw us, Kansas City against like San Diego or something.
Yeah, they didn't have many options there, but I'll go on the board now with my picks. Pick number 1, I took this game week 1 last year. Got a scare there, but I'm going to go back here again. I'm going to take the Eagles laying 6.5 in Washington against the Washington football team. This is when I think the number, again, is just too close because Washington's a bad team. They just cut Adrian Peterson. Dwayne Haskins a mess last year. New coach coming in, Ron Rivera. A lot of questionable weapons outside Terry McLaurin. The Eagles are a very good team. I know they have questions at receiver, but this team can run the football. This team can play defense. This is a manageable number at 6.5. I can win with a touchdown. I'm going to take the Eagles here, lay the 6.5 in Washington, pick 1.
I completely agree with your pick here. I like it. The only reason I shied away from this pick is that sometimes these division games just scare me, regardless of how good or bad a team is. Just when you're playing in the division, I've seen these Patriots-Dolphins games too many times for me to get really sucked up on one of these games. I just get a little nervous about the division.
Yeah, that's certainly fair, but I'll take the chance again with Philly. Game 2, I'm staking in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm taking the Steelers, laying the 4 at MetLife against the Giants. I think, this is a number that's way too out of whack. The Steelers laying 4 points against a Giants team that you and I both know is not very good. The defense of Pittsburgh is the best unit on the field. They're going to do the best to shut down Saquon Barkley. They'll frustrate Daniel Jones. I can see some key turnovers here. And the Steeler offense with Ben Roethlisberger should have its way against a Giant D that has a lot of question marks. I'm only laying 4. I think this could end up being a blowout. So give me the Steelers laying 4 in MetLife, pick 2.
I like your pick there also. And we discussed the game earlier. We discussed the matchup. And I am interested to see how Ben comes back from the injury. He is getting up there a little bit in age. It wouldn't be really that surprising if he just wasn't that good anymore. But then again, I'm not banking on that. But it could happen where he comes back from the injury and he's not the same Ben Roethlisberger. I really wouldn't be shocked.
All right, that's game number 2. Game number 3, I have to take a dog this week. I am taking the Cincinnati Bengals, getting 3.5 points at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Chargers, they have not impressed you that much. I know Tyrod Taylor's a quarterback now, and he could game manage this game, but I like getting the hook at home. The Bengals did a lot of work this offseason. They really overhauled the defense. Joe Burrow is I think, is going to make a big difference on the offense. A.J. Green is healthy. They have playmakers on offense. I think this game will be very, very close, and I'm getting the hook, which I love. I don't think the Chargers going to be a great road team traveling out east for the 1 o'clock start. I think it actually might be 4:05. It's still, the point is I don't trust the Chargers here. Give me the Bengals getting 3.5 points at home to start off the Joe Burrow era. I think they could actually win this outright. Give me the Bengals, pick 3.
I don't dislike the pick. I think this is definitely the game this week that I'm least interested in of any game on the schedule, just based on who's playing. Maybe Chicago and Detroit might be a little bit worse, but this is a game. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Bengals really overhauled their team in a good way, and they're healthy, and I think they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, plus the hook is big in this game. If I can win this game with the Bengals losing by a field goal, it's huge.
Well, let me clarify. When I say the Bengals are looking pretty good, I mean compared to last year, not overall.
Yeah, they're on the way up. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, to reset the picks for week number 1, Nick has gone with the Seahawks laying 1.5 in Atlanta against the Falcons. The Titans getting 1.5 in Denver on Monday night for pick number 2. Pick number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs on opening night laying 9.5 against the Houston Texans. My picks for the week. I'm taking the Eagles laying 6.5 points in Washington against the Washington football team. The Steelers laying 4 at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. And the Cincinnati Bengals getting 3.5 points at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Those are my picks for week number 1. And Nick, this season, I'm also going to throw out a survivor pool pick. You know how those work, right?
Great. I was actually about to ask you that, so I'm glad you're doing this.
Yeah, I'm putting one out this year. As long as the picks are active, I think I'm going to give this a shot here. We'll see how they go. In terms of that, I think my pick for week 1, this is tough because a lot of these games are on the road. And right. I think I'm going to lock it in here. My pick for week 1, I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. Hopefully a little calmer there. I think the Colts are going to be close. I think they'll beat the Jags. I think I'm going to take that as the lock of the week.
That's a good pick. I think Jacksonville is terrible. There's no other way to put it. Jacksonville's atrocious.
Yeah, and I think that's the safest call on the board here because this is a very tough week to do this.
I haven't made my pick yet in terms of my survivor pools, but I'm leaning between 3 games that I haven't decided on yet. I'm liking that same game you picked, Indianapolis. I'm also liking Baltimore and Kansas City. Sometimes I feel like in these survival pools, I like to pick the best team I could as early as I can because I always say it every year. It's very, week one, we think we know who's good just based on last year. And then once you get to like week 8 and you look back at that week 1 schedule, you go, here's just an example. Not that I think Detroit will be good this year, but you look and you say, wow, week 1, we didn't think Detroit was going to be good. Look at them now, like 2-3 years ago with the Rams. Came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden next season, the Rams were a team that everyone started picking. So I think week 1, you got to go with the sure picks of the teams that you know are good. So that way when you get later on in the year, those teams that emerge out of nowhere, you still have.
Yeah, don't be cute is my strategy of week 1. Like, if you have a strong feeling on one, take it. Don't try and say, I'll save the Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that the Bears will beat the Lions at home, and if they don't happen, you're out of the pool.
Right, exactly. Not many of these. I've been in some of them that are second chances, but you're not getting many second chances in these, and especially not a third chance. Maybe a second chance in some pools, but that's it.
Yep, thank you. That's week 1 picks on the board. Next week on the picks challenge, I'm bringing a voice we heard on the draft podcast. Charlie Boyd is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. We got his take after week 1 of the Buccaneers Tom Brady era to take on the Saints this week. I think that's gonna be a fun game too.
Oh yeah, I was really excited to see what Tampa can do.
Yeah,
really excited. Leonard Fournette there now too.
Yeah, I think they go in the Superdome, but I don't think the Saints have fans in the building. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a difference that makes in that game.
This should be a good game. I really think like I said, I'm really excited to see what goes on in Tampa Bay this year. I think that's the team that everyone has their eyes on as just, I can't wait to see their games. That was similar to, I believe, Cleveland when they thought they got stacked up when they got Odell and a whole bunch of people. Everyone was excited to see the Browns. That ended up being a disappointment, but I'm expecting to not see the disappointment in Tampa.
There's a big difference with those two because they're getting Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady is compared to Odell Beckham is a little bit of a difference in how much they impact the game.
Yeah, I would certainly say that. Nick, thanks for all the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Love being on.
No problem. Up next, I'm going to get you more in the mood for football. We'll talk about some football TV shows, football movies you should watch. The great Alan Austin right after this.